All right, YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. Wanted to come on here, give you guys updates surrounding roster transactions. Also wanted to give my thoughts on the new rivalry uniforms that were released yesterday. So I'll start by getting into some roster transactions. So they announced yesterday that they have re-signed wide receiver Russell Gage to a one-year deal. In order to make room on the roster for Russell Gage, they released Richie Grant, the veteran safety, who originally was brought in one of the first free agents off the board back in March or April. At the time, looked to be like a potential lock to make the 53-man roster, but that quickly kind of blew up with the emergence of Marquise Siegel. And obviously, Jason Pinnock has been playing very well. Had a good camp. Both of the guys had a good camp. Siegel played very well in the preseason. Seems to me, especially with Jair Brown not necessarily being, um, the type of player that he used to be his rookie year, he's really kind of fell off. He struggled, had a sophomore slump year last year. Yeah, just can't really seem to put together, um, you know, a, a a good camp. He's just not doing things that you would like him to do, right? So he's kind of taken a step back um, in terms of his performance. So I think Jason Pinnock, Marquise Siegel are going to be the two starting safeties going into Week 1 in Seattle, and probably until Malik Mustafa comes back, which will probably be what, mid-season, maybe a little earlier. So yeah, Pinnock, Siegel, both of those guys are probably going to be, um, the starters at strong and free safety at the early portion of the season. They also announced they signed UFL quarterback Adrian Martinez, who actually won the UFL MVP award and led his team to a championship in the UFL where they won. That was an interesting signing, but obviously a couple days ago they released Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai with injuries. Um, they then reverted to the injured reserve to where basically they could potentially reach injury settlements with the 49ers. Otherwise, they're going to be out for the remainder of the season. So, um, in addition to Adrian Martinez being signed to the practice squad, they also signed Sincere McCormick, running back, and Marquez Valdez Scantling was also signed to the practice squad, which was interesting to me given how banged up and decimated and depleted the wide receiver room is. The only three healthy guys that they have on the active roster in the wide receiver room: Russell Gage, Pearsall, and Sky Moore. So interesting that MVS wasn't signed to the active roster. Now, obviously, they can always bump him up to the active roster with no problem, which could very well be the case before Week 1 if Jauan Jennings doesn't play. I'm starting to kind of think that Jennings won't play, just given his calf injury and the contract situation. There's a report that came out today that said Jauan Jennings wants $20 million a year from the 49ers. And at that point, if I'm San Francisco, trade him. There's no reason to pay a guy like Jauan Jennings $20 million a year. I'd make him play on this current contract or give him a small raise. But 20 million a year to me is absurd. He's had one really good year, and it was simply because Brandon Ayuk was out. I'm not a fan of giving Jauan Jennings 20 million a year. It kind of sucks that it's gotten to this point where he's, requesting this much money annually. But at the same time, man, like, save that money. No reason to pay Jauan Jennings $20 million a year. If I'm the 49ers, I'm trading him. So um, we'll see what happens with that situation. But yeah, those are the roster changes. So quick recap or roster transactions. Uh, they re-signed Russell Gage to a one-year deal. In order to make room for Russell Gage being on the roster, they released veteran safety Richie Grant. Additionally, they signed quarterback Adrian Martinez, running back Sincere McCormick, and wide receiver Marquez Valdez Scantling to the practice squad. So obviously, let me know your guys' thoughts on these moves in the comments down below. Moving on here to the rivalry uniforms. Look, I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of 49ers in black. I wasn't a fan of the initial black alternate uniforms that they came out with from what 2015 to 2017. Um, but I think I like the old black alternate uniforms more than I like these new ones. And maybe they'll grow on me. I don't know. I don't mind the helmet as much as I really don't like the uniforms. One thing that I don't like about the helmet is the gold face mask. I think black would have complemented that helmet so much better going with the black face mask. I'm personally not a fan. I get they're only going to be wearing them one game. It's going to be the week 18 game at home versus the Seahawks. But yeah, dude, I just I can't get I can't get behind those for some reason. I genuinely do think it's the black. Um, I don't know though. I mean, I don't think I like the font of the numbers. I think they look awful personally. The 49ers before having these black rivalry uniforms, in my opinion, have the best uniforms in the entire NFL. There's nothing better than those red and white 94 throwbacks. And then just the normal primary and secondary red and white, home and away classic jerseys that they're wearing. But yeah, they add the black. I get it's something different. I get the NFL's trying to do something different. I'm just not a fan of them personally. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on those in the comments down below. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the black. I think it's the font. I don't really like how it says faithful, um, you know, below the NFL emblem on on like the V of the jersey. I don't know, man. Again, maybe they'll grow on me. I don't know. But then again, I didn't like any of the new rivalry jerseys that came out yesterday between the NFC West and the AFC East. And next year it's going to be AFC South and NFC North that are going to be getting these rivalry uniforms. So interested to see what happens next year with them. But yeah, man, maybe they'll grow on me a little bit. I don't see that happening. I'm just simply not a fan of these jerseys. Again, to me, the helmet doesn't look bad. I think it would have looked better with a black face mask. Um, I think the helmet looks clean, but I don't know. I can't get behind those jerseys for some reason. Let me know your guys' thoughts though in the comments down below. Um, Obviously, let me know your thoughts on these roster transactions as well. There's one other roster transaction that I didn't get into, and that was them re-signing their punter Thomas Morstead, who they initially cut before the initial 53-man roster dropped, just simply due to roster shuffling. So they brought him back, so they have their punter as well going into the 2025 season. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below on the uniforms and the roster transactions. As always, go Niners. See you guys in the next one.